Cellular respiration. So the process of getting cells to be converted to energy is through the process of cellular respiration. It is often summarized in this equation: six moles of carbon is 12 moles of hydrogen and 6 moles of oxygen plus O2, which then we have in our product side CO2, H2O, and ATP. So cellular respiration. This equation here is about aerobic respiration, which is the process where oxygen gas produce energy from food. So basically, glucose, glucose and oxygen are converted into carbon dioxide, water, and the important energy molecule, the ATP, under certain ideal conditions. So aerobic respiration produces around 36 to 38 ATP per glucose molecule. S- So yeah, this happens during the aerobic respiration. So so a brief note towards this. This is the metabolic pathway for energy to be produced into to produce energy from food. So yeah, so that's a metabolic pathway from food to energy. So the first step in cellular respiration goes to glycolysis. So from the word itself, glycolysis, it literally just means splitting sugar. So this happens in the cytoplasm. And here, one glucose molecule is then broken down into three carbon pyruvates, three carbon molecules called the pyruvate 3C specifically. So along the way, we gain two ATP during this process and produce a couple of NADH so molecules that carry electrons to two later stages. So in this stage, glycolysis does not need or require oxygen. So it's the starting point for both aerobic and anaerobic respiration, which I'll be explaining to you later on what anaerobic respiration is. So yeah, so in glycolysis, let me just go here, glycolysis. So glycolysis, we produce two ATP here, and then two pyruvates, three Cs. So from one glycose molecule, we get it gets broken down into two pyruvate three carbon molecules. So yeah. So note this occurs in the cytoplasm specifically. So onto the next step we have is the Krebs cycle. So if 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 oxygen is available, the pyruvate moves into the mitochondrion. So the pyruvate, I'll just make it like a square for things to be easier. So yeah, it moves into the mitochondrion and is converted into a molecule called the acetyl CoA. Then it enters the Krebs cycle. This is the Krebs cycle, the circle inside the mitochondrion. So here it's where it systematically breaks down. So this process allows to generate more NADH and FADH2. So these are electron carrying molecules plus a small amount of ATP. Yeah. So carbon dioxide CO2 is released here as a waste product. So in the Krebs cycle, CO2 is considered as a waste product. So this becomes a waste product. So yeah. So to consider the Krebs cycle, it is the crucial preparation stage that loads electron carriers with energy for the final step, which we'll go on to that later. So to briefly like summarize the entirety of the Krebs cycle, so this is the small mitochondrion shape where acetyl CoA is goes to the Krebs cycle where we produce NADH, NADH, FADH2, CO2 as a waste product, and a little bit of ATP. So this is just a way to visualize things more easily. So lastly is to the last stage, which is the electron transport chain, also known as the ETC. So in this stage, this takes place along the inner mitochondrial membrane. So all the NADH and FADH, which is on the left side of the mitochondrion, it's I drew it in a vertical rectangular shape. So yeah, as these electrons move through a series of proteins, protons, which are the H plus bond, which H plus molecules, they're pumped across the membrane, which creates a gradient. So with that, the enzyme ATP syn- synthase synthase uses this gradient this gradient to crank out a lot of ATP, specific roughly around 34 molecules of ATP. So oxygen is very essential here. Oxygen essential because it accepts the electrons at the end of the chain where it forms water. Without oxygen, the entire step stalls. So because it accepts electrons at the end of the chain which forms water or H2O, without oxygen, the whole process just completely dies out or this wouldn't happen in the first place. So ETC and yeah, so we get NADH, FADH2 and ATP. So we get around 34 molecules of ATP in this part, and then because we need oxygen in this, O2 then becomes in the product side it becomes H2O. So that's why in the general equation for cellular respiration is we have one molecule one molecule of glucose. O2 then becomes the byproduct of H2O, then we get ATP. So, yeah. So, anaerobic respiration, I've briefly introduced this earlier. So, yeah, anaerobic respiration. Let's ask the question, answer the question, what if there's no oxygen, right? So, when in the Krebs cycle, in the electron transport, we need oxygen. We need this. But then, what happens if we don't have any oxygen? So that's when the anaerobic respiration comes through. So it is also called fermentation. Yeah, fermentation. So here, the pyruvate from the glycolysis is converted into lactic acid. So from the pyruvate, without without pyruvate, if you don't have any oxygen, this converts into lactic acid. So in animals, like in your muscle cells, when you're exercising really hard or into alcohol and carbon dioxide in yeast, the trade-off is you only get two ATPs, two molecules of ATP in total because you skip the Krebs cycle because there's no Krebs cycle because the Krebs cycle needs oxygen, and it also skipped the electronic transport chain because it requires oxygen as well. But it's much less efficient compared to having oxygen, but it keeps cells growing temporarily when oxygen is scarce. So when oxygen is at the tip point of being scarce, then anaerobic respiration comes in to temporarily uh, keep the cells going. So yeah. So to summarize everything, glycolysis kicks things off into the cytoplasm, which splits the glucose for a small ATP chain. The Krebs cycle in the mitochondria pulls energy from the acetyl-CoA and generates CO2. Lastly, the last major step in this chain in the process is the ETC or the electron transport chain. This makes a bulk or amount of 34 ATP, and then the total products of the entire stage gives us a rough amount of 36 to 38 moles of ATP. So for one glucose molecule under perfect aerobic conditions, meanwhile in the absence of oxygen, where we have to resort to anaerobic conditions, then the net the net point or the total amount of ATP is just gonna be 2. So yeah, that's basically the entire summary or what I've learned through in the process of glycolysis and cellular respiration. So every time you breathe, you're fueling these steps into your cells. So yeah, this is the entire process of glycolysis or cellular